What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 7 of season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen, and we'll be going full spoilers ahead. So hopefully you've watched this episode and are ready to join us for this conversation. We'll be doing a real quick recap, but because I am just getting over something right now, I'm going to let Chevy handle the recap because it's kind of hard for me to talk. So what happened in this episode? Two big things.
I think it'll be a pretty quick recap because it's pretty simply put, two events that happened. So we had the continuation from the last episode, which was what's his name?
Mechamaru Absolute Ultimate Edition versus Mahito.
Mahito. That's the one I forgot. Yeah,
Mojito.
The giant, basically Evangelion versus dude who can just change cell structure, fighting each other. And to no surprise, it was just animated like crazy, with a lot of throwbacks to, I feel like, late 90s, early 2000s animation tricks as well, which was a fun little tidbit. Specifically, there's a scene where it zooms in on, I can't remember, Mechamaru's face, and it's just got that crazy dark shading and stuff like that on it. While they're fighting, they mostly are kind of like dancing around each other for a little bit, and Mechamaru has a trick up his sleeve that actually should be able to affect Mahito. And when he goes to do it, it's like this little canister that comes shooting out, bores into his skin and actually blows his arm off, and he notices that it actually has affected his him, not just physically, but like actually affecting his, like, he says soul, but like, yeah, his energy basically is affected by it. They continue to fight for a while. Geto's getting very excited watching the fight, which I relate to. It was a treat. And then just as he's kind of like pushing forward as he's going to win, Mahito uses his, I have forgotten the name. Domain. Yeah. Which, we saw last season, still very cool looking. And pulls Mechamaru into it. In this, Mechamaru has kind of a one-shot move to kind of get out of this, which is heavily inspired by, I can't remember her name. It's the girl with the katana, though, where she can create a small, simple domain, and if you enter that, she will hit you, is the idea behind it. And so he does the same, hits Mahito with it, and the domain collapses. He's feeling very sure of himself. He goes to attack Geto, and Mahito busts through the side of the mech to hit him. They have another kind of like last stand. We get a cut off, and then it shows Geto and Mahito walking, and Mahito basically says that he intentionally dropped it to kind of like psych the guy out and make him think that it was going his way. So then he holds up a little nail while they are talking about perfecting this veil, and then it jumps to the next event, which is a veil going over Shibuya during Halloween. Tons of people gathered, as is pretty common, in Japan that time of year, and we kind of just see people out in the streets drinking, partying, and stuff like that. The veil comes down, and then you just see a bunch of people swirl in the air in a little bit of a tornado, and it jumps ahead to what were introduced as a bunch of small contingents of sorcerers we've seen, and some I don't think we have. And they're given basically team names in the subtitles. It went by really fast, so I can't remember the names of the
There's
teams.
a lot of info on the screen at once.
Yeah, but essentially, we kind of it boils down to the veil keeps normal people out. Doesn't seem to affect sorcerers. Just normal people can't leave. And a side effect is there's no cell phone signal, which they kind of do a typical anime explanation of, but they do it as if like one character's explaining to another character type of thing. Excuse me. And the whole purpose of this is basically, to our knowledge, is bring Gojo. That's the message they're given to tell the sorcerers on the outside of the bubble, bring Gojo. Otherwise, the sorcerers on the outside are supposed to just kind of wait and see if anything comes out that needs to be taken care of, and Gojo's going to go in. And then we kind of leave off with Gojo entering the veil, and that's the episode. So
Just kind of casually walking in.
yep. So what do we think?
This was a fun episode. We got basically what I wanted from the last episode where it left off, where we saw Mekamaru and Mahito fight each other. We got quite a bit of that for almost half the episode was this fight, and it was a lot of fun to watch. There's a lot of nods to mecha anime, 90s anime, a lot of really interesting frame by frame shots that I thought were kind of crazy, specifically the one where he was shooting at Mahito with that crazy rainbow thing, and Mahito, to evade him, was constantly turning into different animals or weird
Forms.
chimeras of animals, his own weird versions of animals, to get away from him, from like, you know, monkeys to birds to all sorts of stuff. And that scene was pretty trippy. In fact, the first half of this episode was kind of like a psychedelic fever dream in a lot of ways. The way it was animated, there's a lot of crazy colors, a lot of crazy animations, a lot of really interesting attacks and faces and all sorts of stuff. It was animated really interesting, but it was a lot of fun to watch, while also being a cool action sequence. It's also very different than what I'm used to with the show in terms of having just a mech, just a Gundam fighting a dude jumping around. You get a little bit of different types of animes all in one right there, and just kind of shows the range of what this show is willing to do in terms of its characters and combat and scenarios. The scene where Mahito pulled him into his domain was really trippy, really cool looking. Explains a lot of what we saw in the new intro sequence to the show, where it's showing almost that mirrored look of things happening. So that was pretty cool. It was also nice to see Mahito, even though he says it was all coordinated and planned, seemingly challenged by this special grade sorcerer, which I forgot Mekamaru was.
I think he has moments where he's not consistent.
Well, at one point they said he was, but whatever the case is there, it seemed like he was giving him a pretty good fight, even though I never believed for a second that he was going to beat Mahito, because I don't know who's going to beat Mahito at any point. He seems pretty infinite. Hopefully Gojo or something. But so the fight was really cool. Really enjoyed it. Really interested to see where things go from there. But then we move over to what seems to be the beginning of the Shibuya incident, as we are seeing this whole arc being named after. And it was interesting to kind of see an event start, basically a hostage situation, it seems like, where somebody's casting a veil over a bunch of people and they can't leave. It's interesting that the sorcerers can walk in and out of this place, so obviously there's a grander plan here, but if the people can't leave and the sorcerer can walk in and out, not much they can do in that situation. They can't get them out, so it does just seem kind of like a hostage situation. Curious to see what happened with all the people who got flushed into the subway. We saw them swirling around. Somebody described it as they were like water going down a drain, basically. So that's very interesting. And it's also interesting that everyone's just kind of casually walking around. Were the two girls with the phones Ghettos? Were those girls that Ghetto knows, or are those just two random girls?
Two randoms.
Two randoms? Okay. Because I remember the two chicks that Ghetto had or knew in the movie were on their phones constantly. So, but I don't remember what they look like. So it's been a while since I watched the movie. But yeah. Anyway, it's really interesting to see everybody's kind of like trying to figure out what's going on. Also, people walking into the walls, stuff like that. Right when it started was also interesting. But yeah, really curious to see what happens in the next episode. This part of the season, the last 2 episodes, has been really good at being satisfying, but also leaving off in a way that I need to see the next episode, because last episode we had Mekamaru and Mahito starting to fight. We got the fight in this, and then when they're like, oh, we need Geto here, or not Geto, Gojo here, he shows up, and then the episode just ends. And it's like, oh, okay, well, guess I got to see what happens next episode. So overall, it's a good episode. I liked it, and this season has been going really good so far. So really kind of digging it, and really interested to see where everything leads from here, because I have no idea.
Yeah. Apologize. My chair keeps
Hey, you're getting real small.
losing air or pressure or whatever. Yeah, I agree. This episode is great. The first half was definitely my favorite, though. The choices in constant or different animation and art direction and stuff like that. Some definite nods to old anime. I feel like heavily inspired by Evangelion.
Seemed like it.
Yeah, super entertaining. I was pretty much in awe the whole time. So that scene you were talking about with the constant frames changing, with him basically, evading the homing lasers, I guess. That was super cool looking. I also really like the scene where they're inside the giant mech, and he's going for his last hurrah, and he's just kind of like got all these random limbs just going all over the place and busting through the Mekamaru doll that's trying to run defense while he tries to get close. Very, very cool. If that's kind of a nod in the direction we're going for the whole season, this could be a crazy show for sure this year. So yeah, and then the setup for the actual incident itself. This whole thing's been set up for it, obviously, because this was a test of the veil, the first fight, and then the veil actually being used in the second half of the episode. Obviously, I'm curious to see where this all goes, but I think hostage situation is a really good way to put that. Even though I don't think the sorcerers, the organization, not the individual sorcerers, care too much about the people as much as they care about just getting rid of the cursed special grade curses that are, as they mentioned, probably underground. So I am definitely looking forward to next week. I have a feeling with the amount of characters in the intro that there's going to be a lot happening the whole arc. So looking forward to it for sure.
We'll get something similar to the movie, where you got just kind of a bunch of cameos in that one fight scene. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, there's a lot of characters potentially at play here. So definitely, neither of us, having read the manga, have no idea where this is going. And let's keep it that way. It's no spoilers, please. So yeah, I honestly have no idea what's going to happen next. So it's
yeah, I mean, it just kind of feels like all out war, because the intro's just got them basically marching,
yeah,
which comes off very much like wartime stuff. So hopefully it'll be a lot of fun to watch. There's a lot of different powers that can be shown, and Map is kind of on a high point these days. So
I'm hoping we get to see something from Geto in terms of him not just standing around smiling and plotting, because he did plenty of that in the first season. Finally, we got a lot of his motivation in the movie and the first 5 episodes. But yeah, now that we've got that established, let's get Geto doing something, because I think it'd be a lot of fun. I'm kind of Mahito is definitely a dude that's easy to hate, but I'd like some fresh new enemy to fight. So, or see someone fight. So yeah. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, let us know in the comments what you guys think of this episode of JJK. What stood out to you? What were some of your favorite scenes? What do you think about the fight in the beginning, half the episode? What do you think about what's happening in Shibuya? Hopefully, don't speculate off of knowledge of the manga, but if you don't know, let's talk about it. And if you do want to talk about spoilers, just put a spoiler warning, even though we're not going to be reading that. So, and yeah, what do you hope to see coming up? Do you want to see any or more of any of the characters specifically? We got to see plenty of Mechamaru so far, but there's so many other characters that are going to be at play. So let me know everything you're thinking about in the comments below when it comes to this episode and future episodes. But I've been Seth, this has been Chevy, and until the next episode, where we will be reviewing that one as well, we'll talk to you guys later.